How to shoot a recurve bow. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to shoot a recurve bow, especially for beginners. Now, this is a kit you can purchase on the internet. I'm going to basically show you how to assemble it and then shoot it, as well as sight it in. So for assembly, it comes in several parts. You'll want to attach the limbs, which is a matter of screwing them on. For putting on the limbs, make sure the bottom limb, which is the bottom part of the handle, is the one that has the draw weight rating on it. So this one here is a 70-inch bow. So from one tip to the other is 70 inches, and it is 26-pound limbs. Now that's at about a 29-inch draw length. If you have a longer than 29-inch draw length, it's going to be more than 26 pounds. So I'm a 31-inch draw length. So at 31 inches, I'm holding about 30 pounds. If you're a 26-inch draw length, you're going to take off about 2 pounds per inch. So you'll be about 20-pound draw weight at a 26-inch draw length. For installing the arrow rest, there's an adhesive with a backing. When I initially put this on, I didn't quite have it facing the correct direction, so I had to flip it around. So make sure if you're putting something like this on that you have it look at the arrow rest itself, the black. Line up the burger hole, which is the hole that goes through the riser, with the arrow rest, and then make sure you put your adhesive on the correct way. I had to flip mine around. Okay, so when it comes to putting the string on, there's a larger hoop on one end of the string and a smaller hoop on the other end. So you want to take the larger hoop and put it over the top limb to begin with. So you'll just put it over the tip and slide it down as far as you can down the limb several inches. And then you're going to attach the other end to the other end of the bow. One thing that I like to do once I install the string over the tip of the other end is use a rubber band to hold it in place. So that makes it easier for the process of stringing the bow, and it also just, makes sure that it stays in the grooves while you're stringing it. Next, I'm going to get the bow stringer out. That's what this is here. So this comes with this particular bow kit by Sanlita. It's called the Noble Recurve for beginners. So this is a bow stringer. So this is how you do it. You slide it over the top limb, down over top of the bowstring, and then you take the boot on the other end and you slip it over the tip of the bow, that bottom limb. Then you're going to step on the string. It's easy if you do it with both feet. And you pull up on the handle. You hold the top piece in place so it doesn't slide. It's going to bend the limbs, and then you can slide the bowstring up into the top notch here. And you want to make sure that the string is on the bottom side of the limb. I had to just slip it around so it would, and then you're going to slide the top piece off. Actually, the bottom boot off, and then the top piece, it slips over nicer. And you want to make sure that it's properly in all the grooves, and it is. So we can check the bottom limb next, the tip of the bottom limb, and it's properly in the grooves on that side. Now on the bottom, I just want to slide it over a hair just to get it in the groove of this particular limb style. So that's how you want it. Now we're ready to go to the next step. Now I'm just going to screw the tips into the arrows themselves real quick. This particular bow set that I'm using here comes with the riser, limbs, arrow rest, arrows, sight, and a target, and a quiver. So I'm just screwing the tips into the arrows and sliding them into the hip quiver. Next is a shooting tab. This kit does come with a shooting tab, so you're going to slide this over your middle finger, and it's going to protect your 3 fingers you're going to shoot with. Your index finger will go above the arrow, and your middle and ring finger will go below the arrow when you grip the string. For assembling the sight, you're going to have 4 screws. You use the 2 smaller screws to go through this into the sight bar here, and then the 2 larger screws will screw it onto the riser. Now, this is an entry-level bow, so the components, the metal components, are a little flimsy, so you want to be careful, because if this gets bent, it's going to throw your sight system off. When you're shooting, you're going to move your sight in the direction of error. So if you're hitting high to the right, you're going to move your sight up and to the right. And I'll show you that in just a minute. Always make sure when you're nocking an arrow that your odd color fletch, which in this case is blue, is going to face away from the riser of the bow. If this is facing toward the riser, it's going to smack your arrow flight out. It's going to mess up your fletch as well. As I walk you through the shooting process, I want to also mention that I have a brand new book on archery that's coming out here in a few weeks. So when it's available, I'll put a link for that in the description section. I'll also put a link for this particular bow that I'm using. This one's made by Sanlita. So this kit you can purchase online. Again, links for those things in the description. If you want more instruction on archery form and technique, make sure you support me by checking out the book. So I'm going to use the target face that they sent me with this kit, and the way that I'm going to attach it to my existing target is just to use some nails and push them in the corners of the target to hold them in place, to hold the target in place. I'm just going to take a few example shots here for you, and I have a 31.5-inch draw length. These are only 30-inch arrows, so I can't technically come to full draw, which makes it a little awkward. I'm close though, and so I'm going to take a couple shots. This first one hit high into the right. I'll shoot a couple more and then zoom in so you can see, and then I'll show you how I'm going to adjust the sight to get this sighted in. I'm also going to talk about how I'm gripping the bow and how I'm anchoring for this shooting process in just a few moments. So to make this correction, I'm going to move the sight up a little bit, and I'm going to move it to the right more significantly than I am going to move it up. Okay, so to move it to the right, well, actually, let's move it up first. So I'm going to loosen this screw on the front and slide it up. There's nice markings on the front so you can tell how high you're sliding it up. Tighten it back up. And then to move it to the right, I'm going to loosen this nut on the side here, and that's going to allow me to essentially unscrew it, and that kind of moves it to the right with this style of sight. And then I tighten that little nut back up. And we'll give that a try once it's in that position. I'll also mention this type of sight has a little stem on the bottom of the circle that you aim with, and that goes to the bottom side of the sight. Well, you can see the arrows hit a little lower, but still very significantly to the right. So I need to move my sight farther to the right and try again. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take 2 shots and see where the arrows hit. Now I can see that they're still hitting to the right, so I'm moving the sight to the right, taking 2 more shots. And as you can see, they're moving toward the center as I'm going across here as I move the sight, but I'm not at the center yet. All right, so now I'm going to take a couple shots and see where we're at. Okay, that one's a little bit to the right, just a little. Okay, I could hear I hit that arrow, so I know I'm still a little bit to the right. So I just move the sight, and I'll shoot again. And that's looking pretty good. Let's get a close-up. Getting pretty close to the middle there. I'm happy with where we're at for right now. The next thing I want to talk about is anchoring. So for this style, this is target style archery. You're going to want to anchor with your hand under your jaw and the string resting against the tip of your nose. As you do that, you want to line up the string. The string's going to be right by your eye. You want to line up the string with the edge of the sight. So you want to be consistent with how you do that. So you want to see the string each time right here on the edge of the sight. If it's here one time and then over here another time and then over here another time, the string lining up with the sight, that's going to change your left to right and where your arrow is hitting, and you don't want that. So be consistent with where you line your string up right along here each time. Now I want my hand to come straight back. I don't want to pluck it away from my face. I want it to go straight back. If I had longer arrows, I would actually be drawing my draw arm a little bit more back so that my elbow was even more perfectly pointed straight away from the target. Let's take a look at where these arrows are hitting here. I did have one where I messed up a little bit, but the others were hitting pretty close. Now here's another angle. You just want your hand that's holding the bow to be fairly relaxed. And so your thumb's pointed toward the target. Your index finger will be pointed somewhat down. And again, you want that hand to be relaxed. You don't want to be gripping the bow tightly. I'll also mention, if your bow kit doesn't come with an arm guard, I'd recommend getting one to protect your arm. Now, I'm a very experienced archer, but I typically am shooting compounds. I haven't been shooting recurves much in recent years, and I even hit my wrist a little bit while practicing with this today to get it sighted in and show you. And it just barely grazed it. It didn't hurt for me, because it just was barely grazing it, but you're more than likely going to hit your arm as a newbie, and that's going to potentially hurt. So I would recommend getting yourself an arm guard if your kit doesn't come with one. Just something to look forward to in future videos. I am going to do a comparison between this bow and this one. This is a 70-inch bow from tip to tip. This is a 62-inch bow from tip to tip. I'm going to compare what makes them different, what impact that length, the tip to tip length has. Also, just want to mention, in this video I was using plastic vanes, which, you know, this right here, that's fine for shooting off of an arrow rest. If you're shooting off of the shelf for like hunting and you have a pad on here, you'll definitely want to use feather fletching. And you can also use feather fletching when shooting off of an arrow rest. It's a little more forgiving. There's a little more give to the feather fletch when it's being shot as opposed to the plastic. The plastic is a little stiffer, and What drawback though is if this gets wet, you know, it loses some of its ability to steer the arrow, and this will also wear out quicker, the feather fletching. So, you know, there's pros and cons to each. I'm just pointing that out. If you ever want to look into trying the feather fletching, especially if you're shooting off of off of the shelf as opposed to an arrow rest. So just keep an eye out for those future videos, and I hope you'll stay tuned for those. One last thing I want to mention as you get into archery is you want this hand that's holding the string to be relaxed. Both hands need to be relaxed. And then you want this to come straight back, relaxed, straight back. You don't want to pluck your hand away from the face. Okay, that's going to throw your arrow off to the left if you're a right-handed shooter. So you want to come straight back. Relax the hand, straight back. So this is entry-level tips for learning how to shoot a recurve. This is intended for target style archery with a sight. There's other types of shooting a recurve, such as shooting it instinctive or shooting for hunting. Because this is target style archery, there is recommended bow lengths depending on your draw length. I will post them on the video right here. You can pause it and find your draw length and see the bow tip to tip length. The reason why that's significant is the shorter the tip length is, the steeper the angle is going to be when you're at full draw. And in order to get the string to rest against the tip of your nose, you'll actually need to come back farther because of that steeper angle. And that changes a lot of dynamics of the shot. So it also increases finger pinch. So the angle, the shorter the bow, the farther you pull it back, the sharper the angle is going to be back here on your fingers. And it'll be more difficult to have a clean release, and it'll be less comfortable. I simply put the finger tab around one arrow in the quiver. It's not going to come off the fletching there. So this is one way to store it so you don't lose it, and it keeps it with the quiver. You know, if you have a quiver like this, I do like having a quiver. It makes it nice for practicing, and you just, you know, put your arrows in there. If you don't have a quiver, you know, you want to be careful when you're carrying them. You know, a lot of people will hold them by the tip here, so that I don't like to hold it in the palm of your hand because you can jab your hand, but the tip is there. Let me just grab a few arrows. So when you're walking back, the tips are there. If you hold them this way, you know, they're not sticking all the way out the bottom, so they're not jabbing anything. They're also not going to jab your hand. Carrying them sideways, if you fall, it's not going to hurt you. If you're carrying the arrows like this and you fall on them, that's going to injure you. So if you don't have a quiver, carry them back like this. These are types of things I mentioned in the book. I hope you'll check it out, and I hope this video has helped. If you like the video, please click the like button and mention below that you liked it or whatever. And check out, I have a whole playlist of archery tip videos for beginners on my channel, so make sure you check those out. And until then, take care and God bless.